Hey there everybody, I'm Lance.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, and in this video we are going to take a look at Townsfolk Tussle. This comes from Panic Roll. They were kind enough to send us a reviewer copy to check out for this video, so we want to thank them at the start of this video. And we're just going to share our thoughts on this game, having played through it a few times now and experiencing some of the different bosses. We're going to show you some of them in this game, some of the different characters that you can play as, and we're going to share basically what this game is all about and let you know our thoughts on it. So Jeremy, why don't you give the folks at home just a brief overview about what this game is about?
So it's kind of, the main thing about this game is the artwork. The artwork in this game, if you can notice by the cover of the box and the components, is it's got that early 1900s cartoon look to it, kind of like a old school Mickey Mouse or Cuphead look to it, which looks amazing. Everything in it looks great. In this game, it's basically a boss battler. So throughout the game, these will be flipped over, and as you go, you will essentially be finding out with surprises who you're going to fight. You will grab the components for that boss. You will set up the board, grab their cards, and you can keep all the cards inside of the box if you like, to make it easier to kind of not take up as much space maybe, and pull from there. But in the game, you're going to have different phases. So if we were to move this board flips. So it would start on this side of the board, and it would tell you that it's the town phase. So in the town phase, you're going to get some of these feat cards. So you're going to get 3 to start. And these feat cards are kind of like hidden objectives that you're trying to complete on your turn, so that you can potentially gain extra gear from taking out the boss. It's a bonus for you. Or at the end of the third phase, when you go into the final fight, that based on these point values, they will determine who is the sheriff, and that changes kind of the rules. And the sheriff is good because you may get an item, and that item may help you out. I've seen the item actually hinder you as well and make it harder for you. But the sheriff cannot die. If the sheriff dies, that's another losing condition. And so, for instance, this card here says fight fixated. So purchase no gear from the peddler in the town phase. So this is a town phase objective, basically, feat of metal. So if I don't buy any gear from the peddler in this round, I can complete this. Now, that would be kind of hard on your first round because you do want to get stuff.
It's going to help you defeat the bosses.
You do want to get stuff in the shopping phase so that you can basically level up your character and have better weapons or better items to help you survive. But if I did that in maybe a second round or a third round, I could complete it. By completing it, it gives me 1 point, not for gaining benefits from the boss, but to decide who is the sheriff at the end of the game. I also immediately would either gain 4 coins, as this card is depicted. Some say 1 coin, some say 2 coins.
Or get some of these zoomed up here.
Or I could gain a +2 accuracy for the fight that we're about to begin. Next one says interact with the terrain piece. You would do that in a battle. By doing that, you get no points towards the sheriff becoming sheriff, but you would gain 1 movement for that fight, or you could choose to take a coin for the next town phase. But that's what the feats of metal do. The second part of the town phase is to resolve an event card. There's several event cards in here, and some are going to be secret, some will be common. So this one says dying gift. You find a townsfolk sliced in half. With his last bit of strength, he hands you a piece of paper and whispers, "Please utilize this fantastic deal." You receive a buy one, get one coupon. So you would keep it says on the bottom in orange, which we'll put on the screen in a second. Keep this card in front of you. The next time you purchase an item from the peddler's shop, you may take an additional item of equal or lesser value for free, then discard it. some of these can be very beneficial for you, and some are not as
Well, real quick, I
nice.
gotta say something. The dark humor in this game is fantastic. I love that. So
they did a good job with all the different texts and stuff. This one is a secret objective, so I'd keep this secret until it came to play. So, for instance, the Peddler's Reward, it's a town event. The Peddler mentions that if you and your friends manage to clean up this town, she'll reward you handsomely. She's sick of these jerks killing all her customers. They need to go. Keep this card face down in front of you. Reveal it after defeating the next ruffian. All townsfolk who achieved all of their feats of metal this round receive the top card of the Peddler deck. I had this one. I did not get to do that. Because this is a tough one. You have to accomplish all your feats of metal to do that one. So some can be really easy and give you a benefit right away. Some are secret harder. Some are secret and easy. But there's, close to, it looks like close to 100 or so.
And that's really going to change up
there.
Every experience that you have with this game based off those events.
Card.
Because you're not going to see them all. You're going to get some. Everybody else is going to get some, and it's just going to change how things play out through that event, through that round. So.
And then the third part of the town phase is there are 10 spots for peddler cards. Basically, these 10 cards would come out on the board, and everybody in order would be able to buy. Now, over here's a track, and you'll notice that the buying order goes up this way, and then the beating order, so the fighting order is going to go the opposite way. And you're going to get a chance to do every one because there's, more than likely, unless you're playing a 5-player game, is going to rotate. So at the end of the fight, whoever is at the bottom is rotating up, and the bottom or the top is going to the bottom. So
it's a little bit of a reverse player order there,
and it lets you get maybe items that you wouldn't be able to get because you're buying at a later time.
Let me see some of these.
But so these will have a coin total on the right side. They will have their abilities. Some, as you can see, will adjust the stats on you. So like I have a kilt here on screen, and it increases your Mox 1. And then the ability on it is damage preventing effects on your shields may be activated twice per fight. So if I have that card, I'm going to want to hopefully find a shield. But I will tell you, it's hard to find certain items. There are just as many, if not more, peddler cards as those town events we were talking about. There's a lot of different items and things that you can get to increase your stats, which will help with that replayability because it's nice not having the same exact weapons every time or the same gear. And some of them are funny. I mean, Lance's favorite card here is the Busty Brazier. It's a brawl. And so it gives you zero.
What happens if you take that bra off?
Well, it takes 0 Mox to use. It's a 3 coin card. But if you unequip the Busty Brazier, you reveal the next card in the action deck. And you may only activate this when you're adjacent to the ruffian. So
essentially, you're next to the bad guy, taking off your bra, distracting him for a turn because he doesn't activate his action card, and you get to kind of get away from him for a little bit. So,
well, no, I think he revealed the next card in the action deck.
Oh, you get to know what's going on.
Yeah, you know what's coming. It doesn't skip it. Yeah. He's not that distracted by the
well, it gives you a little bit of a benefit, I suppose. Yeah.
So you would buy. So I could buy one item, and then the next person, until we decide that we're going to pass, or we run out of coins, which you're forced to pass at that point. At any time, though, or at the beginning of the buying phase, maybe all these cards look like trash, and you want to get through and find a specific item or something else and hope it comes out. You can pay 2 coins per townsfolk that's in the game to reset the peddler's cart. Now, you don't have to do that the first person. You do that as a team and decide, well, I'll give 1 to do that if you've got extra money, if you want to give 3, and so forth.
And it might be worth it to do that.
If all the cards are not anything you're looking for, but then you would wipe it, refill it. But once the first person in buying order buys a card, you can't do that action. So it must be done before then. Then, after you have purchased your cards, you've looked at your town event, and you've drawn your feats, you get to enter the fight phase, which we would flip this over. We would find out who we're fighting first. Which it will tell us.
Could be this guy right here.
Which hopefully not.
Hopefully not. This guy's pretty tough. What's his name? The Dairy Lord?
That's Pepin' Milk Frog.
And you do get, I do want to speak real quick on the components here. You do have your standees and your minis with this game. I'll put them on the green screen.
So they did
here.
include the standees as requested by the backers, and they went ahead and produced them for this. I don't know if they will be in the next edition that we'll talk about later, about when it comes out and everything. There will not be a standee only version, they've told me. Miniatures look great, but if you're not wanting to paint them,
the standees look great.
I think the standees look great too.
Yeah, they're awesome.
So
they're giant.
We're kind of showing off both here for you, but this board's going to tell you how to set it up. Anything with a FF is only if it's in the final fight, which you'll know because this would be the last boss that you would fight in the game. And so it tells you your setup, all this, but on a normal one, you would just set up based on the board, read the text if you want, flavor text, and then you decide, well, if it's the first fight, it's going to be a chump, nothing really is going to change. Hooligan would be if it's the second boss, Troublemaker, third boss, and these are going to change. Now, on the last one, again, final fight's going to tell you to flip. Right here, you can see the stats. So the boss's movement total based on player count and their health start, and they may have a weakness also, and different cards will tell you how to activate the weakness on them. Right here on the bottom, you have Ruffian gear rewards. These are the rewards if you complete and beat that boss. I told you you would look at who completed the most feats of metal in that round, and then whoever had the most feats of metal, not looking at points, would go ahead and you would take these 3 items, shuffle them, and they would take a random one, and that comes into their area. And so this is a boss battler. I will tell you, it is.
It's got a lot going on in it, and we haven't even really talked about the characters and the way their boards act. But it's got a lot going on in it. But it's one that I feel like is very thematic, and it feels like more than just I hit you, you hit me. I move here to get away from you hitting me. There's still a lot going on. We haven't even covered the terrain cards, the different stuff that you see on the board out here, which is different with every boss setup. So it's not possible for us to talk about every aspect of this game. Just know that this is a skirmish game that has a lot going on, but it doesn't feel like so much, or at least it didn't for me. It feels like so much that I'm having to reference the rule book 100 times, or I'm feeling like I'm learning a new game every time I set up with a new boss. I don't know, what do you think?
I think transition, once you get the core aspects, the boss to boss differentiation is not too much that you're not going to know. I mean, you're going to want to read the terrain cards to know what the terrain's going to do for you that round. And you're going to want to know, what the special ability of that boss is, if it's, depending on the level of the fight, or if it's the final fight, and know what the differences are. And it makes it quite a bit different if it's the final fight version of the boss versus just a normal boss you're fighting with a little bit different ability.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm going to just kind of jump in here real quick and share with you guys my thoughts on this game, the things that I really enjoy about it. I've played several skirmish type games, whether they're co-op or they are competitive, and you've got quite a bit out there nowadays. Seems like it's a genre of game that is growing a bit. You see it a bit more than what you were seeing before in the past, and it's not one that I'm super thrilled with as far as the level of depth that goes into the game, because they oftentimes seem a bit shallow to me. It seems a bit of just rolling a die and seeing who rolls higher. Now they've gotten better. The genre has gotten better as a whole in the last few years. And I feel like this particular game does a great job of taking it up a step and moving it into a genre that I'm actually excited to play. Because there for a while I was like, skirmish, I don't know about that. This one, the theme, the packaging, the production, and the actual gameplay around it, I feel is excellent, is top-notch. And it really elevates this game to a good point for me to want to get it to the table and play it. I will say I'm a sucker for this kind of look, this kind of theming, the artwork. It really speaks to me, that Cuphead type of vibe to it. And so that's got that going for it. If I strip that away and I just focus on the gameplay elements, I will say you do still have some dice rolling, which, as people will know, this guy right here will tell you, I'm not the greatest at dice rolling.
And I told Lance this today because he pulled out a dice tower.
I have a dice
placed
tower.
it in the dice tower, and his rolls were so
Instantly
much
better.
I think it's all in the wrist, and he does not have the wrist to throw
I think
some
I'm going to
dice.
have to start using the dice tower.
I told
from
him,
here on
portable
out.
dice tower, bring it over anytime he comes over to my house to play.
Now, here's the thing about dice rolling, and I know a lot of people out there agree with me on that. It feels like a lazy way to do combat mechanics. Just resorting to, I got a 6. That wasn't good enough. It feels lazy. And real quick, I want to apologize if you guys can hear the rain outside. We're in the middle of a storm, so bear with us here with that. It's Oklahoma, springtime. That's going to happen.
Like the Postal Service doing videos.
But in this game, you have enough that goes along with it to mitigate the rolls, to increase, I'm going to put out this board here again, to increase or decrease your accuracy on your rolls. And you can see just how much this can change. And let's see if I can find an item here that is a weapon. Here's a rolling cannon that I'll put out here to show you guys that the numbers that you need, now this is just one example here, but the numbers that you need most of the time aren't crazy off-the-wall numbers. Like, I need an 8 to succeed on a D10. Or if you're rolling a D6, which is, as far as I know, there aren't any D6s in this game, but you need a 6 to be able to hit. Well, that's just crazy. I have played skirmish games where it's like that, and it's discouraging, and it's not fun, and it oftentimes feels like, well, I'm not getting anywhere quick. And in this game, you don't feel that way. You feel like you actually stand a chance. You feel like you have a game plan that you can go into, and it's not just based off of a simple dice roll. If you don't roll great, you still have some moxie points you can spend, or you still can move and get to one of these terrain pieces to maybe do something. And you're not exactly sure what the bad guy's going to do on their turn. Maybe they don't even go after you. Maybe they go after the other person. Or just what? There is quite a bit of randomness in this game, but it's randomness that I'm okay with. So I do enjoy this game quite a bit. What do you think, Jeremy?
Well, going on with the dice rolls, because Moxie doesn't really help you with dice rolls, but the thing that really kind of stinks for you with dice rolls is your accuracy, because most of your characters are going to start at a 0 or a negative, which means you have to roll higher than the card that you're trying to use. So it is something, and by the time you get to the final boss, the final fight, you should have gotten equipment cards that are going to hopefully boost some of these attributes to help with that. Dice rolls can be brutal at times, especially if you need an 8 or more and you're a -2, you have to get a critical hit.
Let me jump in real quick and say I'm glad you mentioned that, because the leveling up in this game, it doesn't take a campaign to get to that point. You're leveling up after each fight, and it feels like you truly are becoming a bigger, better character each fight. And you get that in some other games, games that this game has been compared to, which we'll talk about here in a second. But in this game, it happens quicker. It happens more satisfyingly, if that's a word. And you feel like you really can make a difference when you get into the next boss fight. So, yeah.
as you know, my top 2021 game, which a lot of people probably don't agree with, was Bloodborne. And I've told you that. It's in another video. But in those type of games, that's a campaign game. It's a game that's a short campaign that's done over 3 chapters usually. And one chapter usually won't take super long, but occasionally it can. This, however, lets you do a lot of those things without going and doing the objectives. The main thing of this game is just 2 phases. You get your secret objectives, you get an event, you buy some things, you go right into the battle. So it weeds out some of that stuff. Now, I do like the story aspect of that and going through, especially if it's a theme that I enjoy. But I also liked not having to do that with this and just doing the phase, using my resources of coins to buy it, or complete a feat of metal, or however I choose to do that. And then, okay, here we go. We're set up. Let's take out this boss like you would in Cuphead, and then go to the next level and take out another boss. So I think I like the way that it does that. I've not played the other game that will reference that this gets compared to, but as far as this one goes, I'm not a huge skirmish guy either. I do like that this is a skirmish type, but it's cooperative. I like that aspect to it. I just usually don't play a whole lot of just 2-player take that, or even that many 2-player abstract games. So I like that it's a cooperative way to do that. We have played at different player counts, and I feel like some bosses can be easier with 2 and some can be easier with more people. You have to be very strategic at times of what you want to do, because if you get someone that's the sheriff and they don't have their stats boosted up too much, but they did have a bunch of feats of metal completed to become the sheriff, like I said, some of those cards can help you and some can hurt you. And if you get a lower static character that just goes all out trying to complete feats to be the sheriff, it's not always the best for your team.
Right.
And so even though you do have that secret aspect and you're trying to do that, I feel like as a group you need to work together still and try not to force one person to be the sheriff. I don't think it's that important for you to be the sheriff if you don't have a super amount of health. Because we saw when our first round, he gets 2 actions. So if Pepin the Milk Frog does 2 cards and he attacks me twice and I'm not the sheriff, but I have the most health, I'd lost 4 health. And if I didn't have an item that boosted my max health points, then I would have been dead before I even did an action. So it can be very brutal at times.
Yeah.
And there is a very strategic way about doing this co-op boss battle.
Absolutely.
I mean, I told him it's like while I'm playing Elden Ring or I'm playing Dark Souls or anything, and I walk right into the fog gate, and once I get into the fog gate, I get hit. That happens in those games. Those are at times brutal games, but they're so enjoyable. And this has that same kind of feel at times where the boss always is going to be first in beaten order, and there's a chance that you're going to get hit for 1, 2. If it's a final fight, you could get hit right out the gate and half your health is gone. And that's true in those type of games.
Yeah.
And so it does bring that sense and that to the theme of a Cuphead, because Cuphead's a very tough game. Me and another friend, we've played a bunch of it, and it is insane at times about how tough that is. And at times this has that same feel, although it looks like it's like Root, like it's a very friendly game. No. This could be a very brutal game.
I do want to say real quick, even when you lose in this game, it's still kind of fun because the story that you're told, the humor, the narrative aspect of this game is an unsung part about this game that I don't think gets enough credit, because you look at it, it's a skirmish game, it's got these cool minis, it has all these cards and everything, and that is the gameplay. But man, the story in this game is my opinion, where this game really truly shines. We did lose against Peppy, and you want to tell him what that
Gave him a
storyline was?
nickname, Peppy.
Oh, is it not Peppy? What's his name?
Pepin.
Pepin. I'm sorry, Pepin.
Or it could be Peepin. I don't know. The so you're probably gonna lose to him the first time, or if you never lose to him, I'm gonna read this. So
Spoilers.
So we'll put a little note in there, but here's what they said about our loss. It said, Pepin incapacitates your party with ease. He melts down your bodies with his volatile milk, then quickly rebottles it as not to waste any of the precious liquid. Over the next few days, Pepin goes door to door in Eureka Springs, peddling the same vile dairy. Surprisingly, sales are good. Of course, there are no repeat customers. They tend to disintegrate after the first bottle. Within days, Eureka Springs is nothing but a goop-filled ghost town. It's safe to say you've been thoroughly defeated by the protein-peddling milk frog. It was a valiant and violent effort by your group, but you lose. I mean, we enjoy when companies take the time to build a good narrative to the game.
Absolutely. It makes me want to come back to it.
It's that extra oomph that you need in a game
for sure
to really sell it, and I think they did that here. That was awesome. There goes one camera. So I think we're gonna just keep going. I don't think anything got broken.
No, it didn't.
But yeah, there you go. Bloopers. I told you we need to start including some bloopers, so that works perfectly. But yeah, this game is fun, and it's just is fun but brutal.
Yeah,
and I can't say enough about the artwork.
I want to jump into this, and this may be one of the reasons why you're watching this video, because this game gets compared so much to Kingdom Death Monster. It's another skirmish cooperative game of an epic campaign, epic size, lots of components. It's an expensive game. It's an investment that you have to get into if you're going to start playing that kind of game. And rightfully so. I mean, there's a lot of similarities that you have between the two games. There's a lot of differences too, though. And so I do want to speak just briefly on that, because I have owned Kingdom Death Monster. If you'll note, I said owned, past tense, and that'll tell you a little bit of foreshadowing what I think of that game. And so with this game here, Jeremy just said it. It is a brutal yet fun experience. In my humble opinion, Kingdom Death Monster is brutal. I didn't find it fun. I found it depressing. I found it very brutal and just robbing any kind of joy or fun that I could experience from the game. And quite honestly, and guys, I'm not here to bash games or tell people, well, you like this game and you're wrong. That's not my place in the board gaming hobby at all. But in my humble, honest opinion, when I played Kingdom Death Monster, paying the amount of money that I paid for it, it was the most disappointing gaming experience I've ever had in this hobby. It just wasn't fun to me. And real briefly, the reasons for that, I felt like it was all about just rolling a die. Sure, there was some strategy about trying to get behind the enemy so that you can increase that a little bit. But man, was it all just about the die? We played a four-player campaign, and it seemed like only one person could get consistently good rolls, and the rest, the three of us, myself included, could not get anything working for us, and we were just shredded apart by that lion, apart by the next boss. I can't remember what it was at this point. The intermediate stuff going on, the town building, all of that was great. All of that was fun, but it was just far too much battling and just struggling it out and not getting anywhere, and just defeat after defeat after defeat for it to feel like it was anything that I really truly wanted to come back to time and time again. You don't have that in this game because it is strategically designed so that you are going to progress along this track, hopefully. You're taking out a smaller boss to take on a medium-sized boss, to another medium-sized boss, to the big boss. And you know, with that, you're gaining new weapons. Like I said earlier, you feel like your character is fully growing and developing with each new fight. It didn't, to me, in my opinion, it didn't feel like that happening in Kingdom Death Monster. Maybe after you've played it for, 16 hours worth or however long you want to put into it, do you start to feel like you finally get somewhere and your civilization has created this, whatever you want to call it, but it's something that actually works for you. I just didn't have the energy in me to do all of that, let alone put together the minis and organize everything that came into that monstrosity of a box. You don't have that in this. You still get a whole heck of a lot of content in this game, as you can see, as we've shown you in this video. And man, in my opinion, this is 100 times easier to get to the table. It has a better look to it, in my opinion. Kingdom Death Monster was lots of grays, lots of white and blacks, a very bland looking kind of game. The minis were really cool, but it was kind of hard. It was hard on the eyes. The theme was very intense. Wasn't for everybody, so I couldn't play it with just about every person that I play games with. There were people that were very much against the theme of that game, which I get. This is nothing like that.
Yeah,
it's a much more welcoming, enjoyable experience, and it gets better points because of that. I mean, we can say all day long, theme doesn't matter in a game, just tell me about the mechanics. I don't think that's true. This is more welcoming. It's more inviting to other people. It's humorous. It makes me want to come back to it. And so because of that, this is going to get a whole lot of a better rating, in my opinion, than Kingdom Death Monster. So,
well, is your number 2 worst experience this War of Mine? Now I will say this, because
yes.
I will say this. Tough theme and things like that, I don't find it as, like I said, I've never played Kingdom Death Monster, but to me it sounds kind of like farming in a Dark Souls or something. It's too hard. You've got to level up. You've got to take the time to do that. If you want to get anywhere, you're going to get to a point where you can't in those games. You're just going to get demolished and wrecked over and over until you do that in a game. But tough themes, I'm fine with. A lot of them have to do, and that doesn't necessarily because it's a different world, but like this War of Mine, there's historical references, even though it's based off the video game and it's not exact to history, but those themes are tough. Koyeka, another game I really enjoy, but for a lot of people it's depressing knowing the history of having to go and wait in line and then no items be there, because that's how it was in those times. So tough themes like that, yeah, I mean, I don't want to play them all the time, but I feel like that's not going to turn me away from a game. So where that may be tough for Lance to really enjoy, or other things, and many of you that like those games like that, I like those themes too. A lot of times, like I posted, games at times make me research other things.
That's true.
Yeah. Even coffee traders, which I just got. I was watching videos on civet coffee or Kopi Luwak, which if you don't know, that's cat poop coffee.
Why?
And so interesting themes and ideas and facts in games like that, or even the history of Poland being suppressed in that era in that game, or those things give me the desire to learn more and gain more knowledge from that. So I don't think it's necessarily bad to have themes like that, or and it's not for everybody, but there's a lot of people, and I'm sure some people watching this video do find those themes to be good. So I wouldn't say that. I know for Lance it was his worst experience with gaming, but I know for a lot of people that's a very very good game that they love to death, and they tack it on, and I'm just agreeing with you that those type of themes can be very enjoyable, is what I'm trying to say with that. So this is a much more friendly, even though it's brutal, approach to the same type of game.
This is not a kiddie game by any means.
No, it's there's still brutal themes to it, and as I read that
you die, there's blood and guts in this
game. but this is just a little bit more to the eye.
Yes.
A little bit friendlier. I will say there are, I think, about 12 bosses that you can go, and like I said, they're going to be a little bit different each way down the track. So 12 different final fights. You've got different levels of them, so that's going to change it up quite a bit.
A lot of
already talked
replayability
about
here.
the different cards. You're going to see different terrain with each boss, and how to interact with that is going to change the gameplay. As of now,
and you can play with different characters.
2, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
2, 4, 6. Yeah, 7 different heroes that you can choose from. And soon, when they do that campaign, they told me that there should be 3 expansions. I don't know what all that will entail. I like variety in games, and I don't mind going back to games. I do like I said, how Bloodborne is a shorter campaign, 3 chapters. But even for that, I told you some go 1-2 hours. Even for that, I created save sheets so that I can save the game. And that's one thing that me personally, I wouldn't say that everybody wants to do that. A lot of people will buy this game and they love the skirmish boss battler, and they will play this over and over and over, and you will have fun. We did it. It took about 3 to 4 more on the middle of 3 to play it with 4 people. And we had fun. We did everything we wanted to, but that was kind of it. I was kind of worn out on it, just from having to teach it and do it and everything the first time.
It's a lot.
But for me personally, I would probably break it up most of the time. Not to say I would never play 4 bosses like that, but I would personally create myself an Excel sheet like I did Bloodborne. It'd probably take me 30 minutes or so. And then I would have it with cards. You can save certain cards, write it on there what you have, who the bosses you have completed. Since they're randomized, just pull the ones you've already beaten out, randomize the new ones in there for the last 2 battles or the last final fight. Maybe I do 3 battles and then I save the final fight for the next time. That way we know we're going to play a short game after 3 rounds of this, and then next time we play the final fight and we have time for maybe a medium to longer game. That's what I would do personally. And I would also probably create another sheet like I did for Bloodborne to know which bosses I have done, which people I have played with, so that I know not all the cards, but I know which bosses I've done, so that I can try to utilize the most of the components in the game. So those are 2 things that if I do get this game in the future, which I could when the new Kickstarter comes, or if I decide to get it somewhere else, that's one thing that I would strongly do, and maybe post on the BGG for the group. But I would suggest that if you're intimidated by a 3 to 4 hour skirmish game, to break it up using a save sheet. It would be very easy to create, very easy to utilize, and very easy to get back out. Just taking out the people you have done, placing the cards in the front of the box. I mean, it's not going to be too difficult to save and break back out if you're like me and you would like to break it up and do a little bit more than just one sitting of it.
Even as big as it is, it's still not a game that takes an incredible long time to get set up or torn down.
Oh,
it's pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
So, yeah.
And like I said, the boss probably takes the most time to set up just because of the terrain.
Yeah.
But if you have, by that time, you'll be in the middle of the game, so the other people can set up the board while you're flipping stuff over and telling you. So it's a lot easier to set up together as you do that, because to start the game, you don't have to set up too much at all.
Yeah,
it's very easy to set up.
Well, let's wrap this video up. It's getting quite a bit lengthy here. Jeremy, you want to give some scores on this game?
I mean, I'd score it.
Yeah?
I'd score it.
Why don't you go first then?
Why am I going first?
You want me to go first? I'll go first.
I want you to go first.
All right. I'll go first.
I want you to be the bad guy.
I'll be the bad guy.
Or tell me if I'm going to be the bad guy. I'm going to be the boss battle.
I think your score is going to be higher than mine, and that might just simply be for the fact that, again, skirmish games aren't exactly at the top of the pyramid here for me.
I was going to say because your dice usually don't do so
well. No, I do absolutely really enjoy this game, guys. And I'm gonna just jump straight to it. I'm gonna give this game a 7.7.
Oh my goodness. That's exactly what I was gonna do.
Were you? Wow,
Yeah,
there we go. 7.7. And the reason for that is because as I've already mentioned, there's a lot going on with this game, but it doesn't feel too overwhelming. It's a quick teach. It is a quick setup. It is a full experience. You don't have to say, okay, I'm going to dedicate myself here. I'm going to commit to a 16 game campaign or however many games, and in order to find out whether I really like this game or not. You can play this game in one night and get a good feel for it, but you're not going to know everything there is about the game, and you're going to want to come back to it more than likely to keep experiencing it. And because of that, that means it's a good game in my rule book. It's a skirmish game, which automatically means it's not going to be my favorite game, but it is a good skirmish game, and it's one that I want to keep coming back to despite the fact that it is a skirmish game, if all of that makes sense. So 7.7 for me, solid experience with this one. I really enjoyed it.
I mean, based on all of our plays, the way we have right now, I would say I was going to be a 7.7 also. I do think that if I owned it, if I painted it, and which I would definitely, you know, I like to paint, so I would definitely paint it.
Yeah.
And I would create a save sheet, and I think having that and trying that save sheet out, I think it would bump up to the 8s.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe an 8 point, it's hard to tell, or even with knowing what's coming in the future with having more variability with the expansions. They give you, I mean, I've said it before, they give you a lot in this box to use. I mean, it's one big box. It's a big box, but they did a really good job with producing it. The artwork is phenomenal.
Yep.
It's some of the best art. It's some of my favorite art. I love the old-timey animation artwork. And then, like I said, you've got 7 heroes right now. You've got 12 baddies with different variable ways to play them, and they come out random. But again, I would probably create that save sheet so that I try different ones out and maybe pull those tokens out so until I've used each one. And again, saving after maybe 2 bosses, 2 full rounds of town phase and boss, maybe 3. Save it, pick it up, give everybody their character, set all your stats back up, get your cards back, and randomize the next boss, the last 2 bosses. I think that would boost it for me into that 8.2 range probably easy, because I love miniature games and I love that this is a cooperative skirmish game.
Yeah.
That boosted it. I love cooperative games. Even if it's got a slight semi-co-op to it, this one's still much more cooperative. It's not a semi-co-op really.
And you really don't even have to.
That's why I said I would say
you don't have to do this.
I would say kind of you want to be sheriff, but if you're weak, you don't want to be sheriff because you're going to ruin it for everybody.
Then you will lose.
Especially if you roll low. So, but I think it's a great game.
There you guys have it. That is our thoughts on Townsfolk Tussle. That's kind of a little bit hard to say there. Let's get the box back out here. Yeah, the
Southern drawl, the Townsfolk Tussle.
And that comes from Panic Roll. Go check it out. It is a game that is on the hot list on BGG right now. So this is a hot one to be checking out. So do that. Go check out that link in the description of this video. All right, well, I'm Lance.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, and this is where we take a look at games that are hard to master. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.